All right, welcome back, YouTube preppers. It's Prepping Outside the Box. I'm Josh, and today we're going to talk a little bit about tourniquets. I'm not getting into how to train with them and things like that. I just wanted to cover a little bit of do's and don'ts and some other little bits and pieces. Right before I go, I will say I had a sub when I did a goat about tourniquets, saying to go out there and train. Not mentioning any names, airborne, but he brought up a good point, and I'm going to go ahead and say this is not my job. I'm not, I guess you would say, a professional in that aspect, right? I'm not AMT, a corpsman, medic, or anything like that, right? I've trained with them. I've done training throughout the military and contracting, and I've taught and been taught, all that kind of stuff, right? I've taken courses, but it's not my profession, right? So I highly suggest you go seek out a professional and get some training in it, so you can alleviate some, of the do's and don'ts and things like that. You want to avoid injury. Like I say in the goats, if you're injured, what good are you, right? So safety is paramount, right? Safety is important. Anyways, we'll get into it. So real quick, just a little back history on them. Tourniquets been around, documented for over 400 years. You can Google it. It's like 1674 when they first were documented being used. Just some straps and a windlass, right? It wasn't until a little bit later, like World War II. Some of the bad lore that comes from all this is them not being able to get, extra care after the fact, right? Follow-on care. They would leave them on too long. So soldiers would be having limb loss and things like that. They'd have issues because of the either improper use or prolonged use of them, right? Throughout times as we go further along, and people were they had that bad stigma for them. People were dying from blood loss again, because they were they weren't using them, right? In 2005-ish, I know a little bit before that, but 2005-ish, we started using heavily in the military, and everyone was getting issued them. It was standard with your IFAC, your med kit, whatever you want to call it. And you can go into details, you can go into statistics and things like that. Long story short is tourniquets save lives, and I think they help heavily reduce the fatality rate in the recent conflicts that we've been in, right? Anyways. Long story short, right? Long story short, lack of training and prolonged use can cause injury. So again, I back up on find somebody to instruct you, to teach you, because I can go over this all day long, do's and don'ts, but this is not an end-all be-all, right? Anyway, so there's some different types of them, and there's a lot. I'm only going to go over 3. There's different kinds like cuffs and things like that. Google them, look them up. When you get training, ask them about them, see which ones would be better for you, I guess you could say. Me, I fall back on the all cat. It's one of the first ones that were majorly manufactured for like military and all that kind of stuff. But the cat, if you're going to get into something like that, make sure you find the newest generation, right? Gen 7 or whatever they're at now. Anyways, find the newest generation, because all they've been doing is correcting little imperfections along the way to make them better, like every other kind of product that has a new generation of items, right? So I always fall back on the old cat, but there's other things out there like the soft T. You'll notice it by the alligator clip and the tension screw. They do need training, and if you're not diligent with it, you could actually cause more injury. You could mess up easily with them. So, but there's that, and then they upgraded that to a soft T wide, made a wider band for obvious reasons. Wider is better to an extent. So there's a lot of variations out there. The soft T wide took away the alligator clip and that tension screw, replaced it with it's like a breakaway buckle. And so just do your research, look it up, and I highly suggest you invest in some, right? And train. Invest in the item and training. I go over that over and over again. Anyways, so some do's and don'ts, right? On the don't side of it, obviously, number 1 is you're never going to tourniquet your neck. I'm pretty sure that goes without saying, but if you're bleeding on this side, a tourniquet is just not the way to go. You'll die. Anyways, so don't over tighten the tourniquet. You're putting these things on to stop the flow of blood, right? It is going to be uncomfortable. No matter what, when you're using them, it will feel extremely tight. It will feel a little painful, but you're not doing this to the point where it's going to cause damage. You're doing it to the point where you stop blood flow, right? Never loosen them up. Once they're on, they're on. So don't think that you have to release them to let some blood flow back into the tissue so you don't have damage or lose. That's not factual, for one, but it's it's just more blood loss and things like that. You never loosen these things up once they're on. Once they're on until you get a higher echelon of care, which right now we have that available. Maybe if you're lucky enough, you'll have one in your old team or your group or anything like that if things get terrible. But I digress. Never place these things over joints. Don't put them over your knees. Don't put them over your, I don't know why you would do it, but don't put them over your ankles. Don't put them over your elbows, whatever it is. Don't put them over joints because, for one, it's not going to stop the flow of blood. You'll over tighten them, you'll hurt yourself, and you'll cause injury. Okay? So never place them over joints. I would say if you have to MacGyver some type of, jimmy-rigged tourniquet, don't use string, right? You're basically using just this thin, like a cutting wire almost, and you're tightening it with a stick or whatever you fashioned, and it's going to cause damage. It'll cause irreversible nerve damage. You can cause damage to veins. You can cause damage to just about anything because you're basically tightening down a cutting wire, right? So all that bootlaces and stuff and you're good to go is wrong, okay? I would highly avoid belts just because the belt buckle is basically like a pathway that doesn't tighten down necessarily. So blood flow can still go through. If you're not heavily up to date, I guess, with the anatomy of your body and you're not trained in things like this, you could put it on incorrectly, tighten it way too much and cause damage to yourself or not even stop the bleeding at all, right? So avoid belts. Get yourself, purchase some good old reliables, right? Just on the do side, a few of them, place them high on the extremities. And again, if you're an EMT, a corpsman, medic, whatever you want to call yourself, if this was your profession and I say something you think is wrong, tell me, because I love being critiqued, because it means that I've maybe learned something wrong in the past and I can better myself for the future, right? And this should be the mentality of everyone. So if it's wrong, tell me. If it needs to be updated, tell me, right? If I'm right, kudos to me. But anyways, on some do side, place them high on your extremities. So on your arms, up high, on your legs, up high. I know some legs pretty big, and maybe you'll need a second one to help you, assist you in cutting off the circulation to stop the blood flow. Down there on a lower extremity, you just place them up tight together. Again, get training, you'll see what I'm talking about. But place them high on the extremities. You'll avoid other conflicts that can happen, and it's a fast go-to instead of trying to measure and do all the other kind of things that they used to teach back in the day. Make sure that you annotate the time. Right now it's going to help anybody that's helping you with your higher echelon of care to know when you place that thing on. So annotate your time. Make sure you secure it properly. There's different ways to secure the windlass and things like or cuffs that these oh god, there's so many different kinds. There's different ways to secure them. Make sure that it is secured properly, however that is for whatever device. Like on a soft tee, they have a tension screw. If you do not tighten that down, you can bump that alligator clip, it'll loosen up. It might not loosen up enough for you to notice, and now you're bleeding and you can bleed out. There's things that can go wrong, so make sure you secure them in place. Make sure they are tight and secured. Yeah, last but not least, man, just get some training on these things. I highly recommend you guys purchase some of them because they're life-saving devices, and find some kind of professional to teach a course on these and the proper way to use them. There's improper ways. I know I skimmed over them, and I guarantee there's probably a couple little more ones that I might have not mentioned. So get training, and yeah, until tomorrow, it is Prepping Outside the Box. I'm Josh. See you then.